these are pretty much well the same for about all my classes. So you can take that. If you don't have it today, I will let you borrow a pair. But after that, I'm going to let you borrow a pair and take out points, right? Does that make sense? No short pants, rose toe shoes, no synthetic clothes, not allowed. So I wouldn't be able to do lab today. Do not disconnect or connect conductor or phone or power on. No eating or dip bottles in the class. In fact, the college says no tobacco products allowed in that class. No beverages allowed near the lab benches, and return all equipment and furniture to the correct location before you leave. And tighten up your depending on the size of the class, and we'll probably work in teams if there's 6 people in here. We'll work in teams too. Because we're doing intro to electronics, and I think she's got like 20 people in that class. So we'll need quite a few trainers, so we'll work in teams. Write the date, the serial number of the lost state. Now you're going to be assigned a trainer. So what we'll do is once your team gets your trainer, then we'll get a piece of masking tape and you'll put it on the front of it. That way the ET 100 class will know it's been assigned out. And, in fact, we make them ours. Now I'll anytime something's out there like that, people like to scavenge for wire. You're supposed to bring your own wire in, and they'll get in here and they won't have wire. And what will they'll do? They'll start opening up trainers and take a while. But anytime you use one of our oscilloscopes or anytime you use one of our meters, you're supposed to have your own meter, but sometimes it's more convenient to use 2 meters instead of 1, especially if you're required to measure current and voltage. Then we have bench meters available for you, but you shouldn't do that since you're working on a team, because both of y'all are supposed to be required to have a meter, right? But if you use one of our oscilloscopes, now we don't do it. What we're trying to do is that if anything gets left out, and get put up where it's supposed to go. It always amazes me. People will go out and get stuff, and then they'll just go in and throw it anywhere, and they don't put it back where they got it. We inventory our parts, our trainers, and if you put things where they're not supposed to be, then there's a problem. And this will be on the lab forms. At the end of each lab session, you're going to document the lab. Should have ran you off one of the blank lab forms. Let me go ahead and do that. Got a printer over here. It's almost as bad as Spectrum's internet that say give you 100 megabit, but they don't. So this is our lab form. Of course, name. Everybody you're doing labs in group, but everybody turns in their own lab form. You turn in your own labs, right? Y'all understand? So you start off with your name, your required experiment number. It's in the lab book. So we're going to start off with experiment 31. And I think the title was like diet. Now, this is what we're talking about here, is keeping up with your time. It's something you got to be used to. And the way the lab works is that we'll look at the procedures, but your team takes turns constructing lab. And then the other partner is basically telling them how to connect the wires, right? You understand that? So it's a team effort. So just because you're the one that's not constructing the lab does not give you permission to leave, right? And then this is where we go up, and this is where I grade the lab down Students in a team must take turns. Let's see, when you, I got down below for at the end of each lab session, you're going to document your time, right? In the lab, during the lab session, for the nearest half hour, you're going to return all chairs to the original location in the classroom. You're going to return all LC equipment to the correct storage location and leave your work area. Make sense? When your team needs a circuit construction signed off, one team member must write his or her name on the sign-off sheet that will be here. In this class, since we're only going to have 3 groups, and we'll probably do away with that. It should be okay. That will be located with the no board. Make sure you place a check mark in case if you need help, if you need a circuit sign-off. The circuit will check off circuits and answer questions in the order that's named and placed on the sheet. Students in a team must take turns constructing circuits in the experiment. Each team member must document the circuit constructor in the space provided in lab form. The team member not constructing the circuit will provide the connection. Everybody okay there? Have the instructor check the circuit for correct construction before we're going to power this thing up. You're still kind of new at building these circuits. These components, what we'll find out, most of the time a resistor, if you short a resistor, it'll just burn up on them. Transistors, solid state devices can pop them. And then they're usually made with something that's going to fly shrapnel at you. So I'm going to come back and check it, plus you're going to make sure you wear the safety glasses, right? The circuit will initial the circuit once it is correctly constructed. This is not the circuit sign-off. So basically, you'll have 2 initials on the circuit, one for construction, one for the operation. Everybody understand that? Before tearing down a circuit, construct the circuit, and after completing all procedure steps related to the circuit, have the instructor check your circuit for correct operation and measurement. During the sign-off process, the instructor may ask questions pertaining to the circuit's operation. Once the instructor confirms the circuit's operation and your understanding of the circuit will once again initial the circuit in your lab book. And here's where I'll initial the lab book. Check that the circuits that are not checked by the instructor will have to be reconstructed in order to receive partial credit. If you skip over a sign-off, you can't get full credit. You can't get full credit for the circuit. Everybody understand that? Because you just did what? You didn't. Normally time will not be available to make up labs due to absenteeism. If a student misses the lab session, the student must take up the lab at the point at which the student that was not absent is currently working. Schedule and appointment with the instructor to determine if the time may be available to make up labs. It's very seldom. Each team member must complete a lab grade form for each experiment. Students will not be awarded points for portions of the experiment completed by team members when they are not absent. You can get some credit, but you can't get full credit, right, if you're absent. Does that make sense? And that's just like you don't show up for work and you're working with a team. They don't what? They don't pay you, right? Questions at the end of each experiment are not a team effort and must be answered individually by each student. Do not copy answers from the book or your students. Copy the results and do those score for all parties involved. Everybody understand that? I'm not saying you can't use books for reference. That's fine. But you don't want to do what? You don't want to copy it word for word. You want to paraphrase it, put it in your own words. Everybody understand that? Because if you copy, that's all you're doing is copying. If you can do it in your own words, then you're going to learn something. Once you complete an experiment, staple the lab form to the top of the experiment pages to the lab book, in the upper left-hand corner. I did that because everybody I taught this class for years, and everybody would staple it in the upper left-hand corner. And I write with my right hand and I grade with my left. So I flip mine this way, right? You understand? I had a guy stapled it in the upper right hand corner. And I had so much trouble grading that guy's labs Because I was used to doing this, right? And now what I had to do? Now I had to do this. So it was folding toward me and covering up my keyboard. So I came up and I did that. Make sure the experiment pages are in the correct order. Lowest to highest page numbers. Place and complete your lab experiments in the box labeled ETC 120 solid state devices rapidly graded. This is box will be located. Normally we put it over there, but we'll just keep it over here on this. Normally we teach the class next door because we intro robotics over there. Do not forget to write your name and space provided on the lab form in the lab experiment. Do not attach the checkup quizzes. So as you come, basically, the lab book is set up in sections. At the end of each section, then they'll have a topic quiz, a chapter or checkup quiz. It's multiple choice and some fill in the blank. You're not going to attach these to the lab. You're going to turn them in separately because they're graded separately. They're not graded at the same time. They're graded separately. Everybody okay? Just make sure you put your name on that. All LCC equipment must be returned to its proper storage location before leaving, including the chairs. Do not start another experiment until all circuits in the current experiment has been completed and all measurements are should be recorded. Experiments questions should be answered at home. Labs must be turned in at the beginning of the lab session after the last circuit experiment is signed off. So you're not supposed to do the lab questions here. Here you're supposed to be in lab, right? You understand? The questions at the end of each lab is homework. Everybody okay with that? Okay. Completed experiments are to remain in the instructor's office during the entire experiment. Experiment in for grading may be viewed upon request. If required to complete another experiment, this book has a tendency to do that. They want you to compare some answers that you had in chapter 31. Well, you've already did what? You've already turned it in. We'll make those available so you can come up and get the complete experiments with the returns to the student at the end of the semester if you want them. If you don't want them, then no. So that's the lab procedures, guys. Y'all got any questions? We okay? So let me start.